Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I will be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of June 2019. This month I read 4 books for a total of 1,534 pages, and my average star rating was 3.875 stars out of 5. I actually read 4 thrillers this month, which was really fun for me considering that is my favorite genre, and I had not read a thriller all year up until this past month, and I did enjoy all of the books that I read. The lowest rating I gave was 3 stars, so I'm excited to talk about them with you guys. The first book that I read in June was Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. This is an adult thriller, and I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. Pretty Girls follows 2 sisters, Claire and Lydia, who have not spoken to each other in about 20 years after their sister Julia disappeared, and nobody knows what happened to Julia. Now, Claire is married to a wealthy Atlanta millionaire, while Lydia is a single mother who is a recovering drug addict. And the 2 sisters are brought back together when Claire's husband is murdered. And it turns out that the murder of Claire's husband is actually connected to the death of Julia. I would definitely warn people who want to read this book that it is very violent. It is definitely the most violent thriller that I've ever read, and it does deal with subjects such as rape, sexual assault, and torture. And even though it was very difficult to read, I felt like this author really understands rape culture and the double standards for men and women in our society. So even though it is hard to read about, I think that this book has a really great discussion about feminism and the way society treats women. From the very first page, I just thought, wow, this author gets it. And there were several lines talking about that, talking about feminism, that just totally resonated with me. So I did really like that. This book has chapters both from Claire's perspective and from Lydia's perspective. And another thing that I really liked is that it does have letters that were written by Claire and Lydia's father to their sister Julia after she went missing, and I thought those were really well done and very emotional. I really enjoyed the sisterly dynamic and the family dynamics in this book. The reason that I took off half a star in my rating is because the resolution of the mystery, while surprising and well done, had parts that were just a little too far-fetched for me. I can't really go into detail because obviously that's a spoiler, but there were certain parts where I was reading this where I was like, that's a little convenient, and that's why I didn't give it 5 stars, but I did really enjoy it, and I would recommend it if you're looking for a good adult thriller. The next book that I read in the month of June was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is a classic thriller following an unnamed female narrator who meets in Monte Carlo the older, wealthier, and recently widowed Maxim de Winter, and they end up getting married after a whirlwind courtship. The unnamed female narrator returns with him to his estate Manderley, and she becomes obsessed with his recently deceased wife, Rebecca. She becomes obsessed with being like Rebecca, worries that she can never live up to Rebecca and what kind of wife she was, and she also has an antagonistic relationship with the housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. I did enjoy this book. I, however, only gave it 4 stars. Originally, it was a 5-star prediction, and I think the reason I didn't end up giving it 5 stars wasn't necessarily because of the book. It was because of the situation that I was in when I was reading it. I did think the beginning of this book was a little slow, which caused me to put it down for a while before I picked it back up again. And then on Twitter, I accidentally saw a major spoiler about this book. Goodreads posted asking people if you could date any character from a book, who would it be? And somebody responded with a character from this book. However, their tweet included a major spoiler from the book, and I was so upset. I tried to forget that I had read it, but I couldn't. I had seen it. It was here in my mind. So this major plot element in the book was spoiled for me, and that really sucked. Maybe if I hadn't known that and I could have been genuinely surprised by it, I would have given this 5 stars. I did still really enjoy it. I was just very disappointed that it was spoiled for me by someone on Twitter. I do think this is an exceptionally well-written book, and it is incredibly atmospheric. Manderley is such a well-described place, and it feels so real. And I definitely think I would have been surprised by the turns in the plot if I hadn't been spoiled. it just really sucks that that unfortunately happened. The next book that I read in June was The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This is an adult domestic thriller. It follows Nellie, who is a young preschool teacher who is marrying Richard. However, as her wedding comes closer, when she thinks that she's finally going to be happier than ever, she can't help but feel like somebody is watching her. Meanwhile, Vanessa is Richard's ex-wife, and it's not entirely clear what happened in their marriage, but she has now become obsessed with the woman that Richard has left her for and stopping this wedding. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. It had an amazing twist, which I did not see coming at all, and I think it was one of the best twists that I've read in a while. I did really think this book was well done. I felt like even though it was written by 2 authors, it all worked together really well and it was very cohesive. However, the problem I had was I felt like this amazing, mind-blowing twist happened too early in the book. I would have liked it to have come later, and I feel like after that twist, the rest of the book was a little boring after that, because after that, there really wasn't anything that caught me that much by surprise. I had a similar problem with this that I had with Pretty Girls, where I felt like at the ending, there were things that were a little too convenient and it just wasn't realistic to me. So I did really enjoy this twist, and I really enjoyed many aspects about this book. I just felt like it peaked way too early in the book, so I didn't enjoy the second half as much as I enjoyed the first. Like Pretty Girls, this book talks about violence against women, and like Rebecca, it has this concept of the ex-wife and this man who seems perfect, but there's something a little bit off about him and you don't know what it is. Actually, the authors in the back of the book have some other recommended reading that they say you might like if you like this, and they recommend Rebecca to their readers, saying that it was a major inspiration for them, and I definitely felt that. It was really interesting to read those books back to back, because when I read them like that, I could definitely see the similarities and how Rebecca was an inspiration for this book. So the final book that I read in June was Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. This is a young adult thriller with some elements of sci-fi. Our main character is Beatrice. Now, back in high school, Beatrice's boyfriend Jim mysteriously died, and though the police ruled it as a suicide, she never believed that Jim really took his own life. Now she is home from college for the summer, and she reconnects with her old high school friends, wanting to find out if any of them know the truth about what happened to Jim. While they are all together, they get into a car accident, and they are informed by a mysterious man called the Keeper that for them, time has been stopped. They are trapped in something called a Neverworld Wake. They will repeat the same day over and over again until they can all agree on one person who is going to survive while the rest of the friends will all die. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely my least favorite book that I read this month. I thought it was a really interesting concept, and the book kept me engrossed while I was reading it. I just wanted to keep reading this book when I was in the middle of it. I didn't want to take breaks. I read the whole thing in probably like 2 days. I devoured it. However, the reason I only gave this book 3 stars is because the characters did not connect with me on a deeper level, not even the main character. I felt like the side characters were a little bit stereotypical. They made lots of bad decisions. They were frequently selfish, but even though they were flawed, I don't think I liked them. Generally, I enjoy characters that have lots of flaws, but I felt like there wasn't a lot of good in them either. I just didn't emotionally connect with them at all, and I really didn't care if they lived or not, which is a problem because that meant there were no emotional stakes. I also felt like a lot of parts of this book were really predictable. This whole decision about which one of them is going to be the one to survive, I feel like it was pretty obvious the entire book who it was they were going to pick. There was another character who I thought it would have been actually much more interesting if they had been the one chosen to survive. I think it would have been more surprising, and I just think it would have been a better ending. I wasn't really that surprised by anything that happened in this book, not even what really happened to Jim. It was just okay. So even though this was not a bad book by any means, it just didn't really stand out to me that much. I think it was well executed, had some good ideas, but there was just nothing about this book that made me go wow. There was no wow factor. I definitely would like to read Marissa Peschel's other book, Night Film. It just sounds like exactly the sort of thing that I would like, and I would read more from this author because, like I said, this book wasn't bad. I have no major problems with it. There was nothing that I found problematic about it. I just think it could have been more surprising. So these are the 4 books that I read in June. Let me know, have you read any of these books? And if so, what did you think of them? What books did you read this month? What was your favorite, your least favorite? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give it a like or subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every week and my social media links are down below. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, and I hope to see you in the next video.